Hello and welcome to another video, and this one we're going to talk about the skill tree public test in terms of balance. I'm going to look at a few key features here. How is the system compared to the old one? Are things getting power creeped? Are things getting brought back? How is the system compared, like previously you would have a skill gap between a person who's fully mastered a mech and a person who has just purchased the mech. Is that getting larger? Is that getting smaller? What's that going to be like? Taking multiple weapon types, there's some interesting interactions with there that are basically pushing you towards weapon boating with the new system. We're going to talk about that. And the presence of quirks, they're still in the system, and maybe what's their future. The thing about ECM, how they've changed it. And then my ideas on how they could improve this system. But to start off, let's get a few things out of the way. There is still quirks. Now this was it's kind of annoying to me, because in their video that they put out there, I remember being at MetCon and watching that video show up on the screen, and you just see this great big list of quirks on this atlas, and they're going, no more quirks, the entire quirk system is going to be gone, and it's going to be replaced with this new system. And I was really excited, and I was like going like, woohoo, this is exciting, you know, like we're going to remove quirks and we're going to do things differently. They're still there. These atlases here have no skill tree nodes unlocked, yet they still have all of their durability, they have their acceleration, they have all the quirks currently. The vast majority of quirks remain. The only ones that have been taken out have been some weapon ones, so things like weapon heat, weapon range, that kind of stuff. Those have been taken out. But majority of the durability, majority of the mobility have all remained. And that is because there is a difference in the quality of mechs. An Atlas will never be the quality of a Kodiak. Like, it may in some situations an Atlas could beat a Kodiak, but in general terms, a Kodiak is going to perform better on the field simply because of its the base design of the mech. As you see, the other Kodiaks here that I haven't unlocked any nodes on, they don't have any quirks, and the same thing with these Marauders and such. But then we go to the Inner Sphere stuff, like the King Crabs here, it still has some weapon quirks, it still has some armor quirks. Even the weaker clan chassis still have their quirks in order to bring them up. So quirks are not gone, and that's kind of annoying because they advertised that they would be. So, oh well. Now, the question is, how is this new system going to change the balance of the game? Is it going to make things stronger? Is it going to make things weaker? What's going on? Overall, it's going to make every single mech more powerful than it was before. Every mech, not just is going to make the weaker ones more powerful, it's going to make every single one, including this Kodiak 3, arguably the best mech in the game. Because, if you've seen the cost comparison video, I went through the amount of bonuses that you get from leading your mech and tried to recreate them as close as I could, and it cost me 54 points. Now, I rounded it up to 60 points just to be generous, but you're going to have an extra 50% of points. You know, you've only used, say, 2/3. You're going to have another third of your points to choose additional boosts that mech would never have had access to in the live servers as they are currently. Now, you could do a weapon module, for say, and mech modules. You would have your radar depth, you'd have your seismic, and you would have your, your different weapons things. So let's do that. Okay. So we're going to go into operations or infotech. We're going to go get the sensors here. Let's fly down to the bottom. Let's grab all this up. Let's get our radar deprivation and our seismic sensor because, you know, we want it. You can't have a mech without radar deprivation because those crummy lerms. And that's the easiest way we can get radar depth. Then let's pop over to firepower, and while this one is set up in a Gauss Peep design, let's just say that we're going to go down the Ultra Cannon route, because I'm going to change it to the 2 UAC 10s, 2 UAC 5 design that is very, very common. And we can just power through this, and we got 37 points here. We have 2 more things here that we could possibly take. I can maybe get rid of a range. Maybe that's not required. I can get these jam chances and cooldowns. You know, you can do that. So previously, we would have the radar deprivation, the seismic sensor, and then we would have, say, 2 weapon modules, such as like UAC cooldowns for 5s and 10s. Well, we got UAC cooldowns right here. But then we're also going to get velocity, and we're going to get range, and we're going to get jam chance, and we're going to get sensor range, and target info gathering, and decay duration, and like, or I'm getting all these additional boosts that weren't really there before. So every single mech will be more powerful under the new system. We can also do things like, if we wanted to, we could refund some of these upper chassis benefits, because we don't need arm speed and stuff like that, and we could get some of the survival. We could go down and grab some of the durability. That would be very beneficial to this mech. If you take the durability tree all the way down, you can get an additional 10% armor, 20% internal structure. Very powerful. So yes, overall, everything's going to get stronger, and the strongest mechs don't need it. Like the Kodiak 3 does not need the ability to potentially take an additional 10% armor and 20% structure. Like, it's already strong enough. And then weaker mechs, while they're going to get the same boosts, you know, may not be able to keep up with that in particular. But anyway, moving on to one of the next points here is, how is this different from the current system when a person buys a mech brand new and a person has the mech fully eliteed and all the efficiencies? They've actually done things in the past where they lowered the efficiencies to lessen that gap, because a person buying a mech brand new was so much weaker comparatively, and you needed to elite your mech out in order to have any competitive edge. Well, you're still going to have the equivalency if you only go for the 54 points of the old system, but now you can go up to 91 points. So there's going to be even more power in between a person who's fully equipped a mech and a person who's just purchased it. So that power gulf is going to get wider, and it might be more painful for newer players, where they're going to go up against a person who has fully mastered out their mech, and they have all these bonuses, and they accelerate so much faster than them, and they can run faster, and all this stuff, and then they're just left in the dust. So it's not helping that gap at all. Since we're here, let's talk about something in particular with the firepower trees. So let me just pop over to the firepower trees. This design currently on this Kodiak is the dual Gauss, dual peep. And if I wanted to like get points for both Gauss and peep, I would have to go down the peep line. Say I want to get velocity for both. I have to pay 5 points for velocity over here, and then I have to go over here, and then I have to pay 6 points to get velocity over here, so that I can have increased velocity on both of my weapons. Well, I have to spread it over 2 trees. So if I want to combine my weapons, like say I had Gauss Peep, you know, that's a powerful one. Maybe that one's okay to have this -2, but say I want to do SRMs and small pulse lasers. I'd have to click down pulse laser, and then I'd have to go over and click down the SRM tree. What it's going to do is you need to invest twice as much points to have different types of weapon systems on your mech that are boosted. So if we revert these changes, and say I went into this mech and made it into the very meta 2 UAC 5, 2 UAC 10 design, I could just go down the Ultra Autocannon route, and I could take every buff for the Ultras, and that would apply to all of my weapons. So what's going to happen is people are going to run more mono builds. They're going to say, I have just ACs, or I just have pulse lasers, or I just have Ultras, or I just have SRMs. There's not going to be as many of the mixed builds. There's not going to be like, I have medium lasers and AC-10s. Because you're losing out on points. You either have to invest in one weapon type or the other, or you have to give up things like the survivability tree or your sensors tree or stuff like that in order to have as much points to put into those weapons. So people are going to try to stick to one firepower tree in the future, and that's just going to make boating even more of a problem. Why would I mix PPCs and large pulse when I could just take large pulse? Like, there's no reason to mix those weapons systems, because it's just, you need to take extra points. Now, something I would do to counteract this is we can look at the firepower here, and we'll zoom out. Like, this entire thing from here over, all these trees, or wait, no, where is it? Oh, that's even more of it here. Here over, so all these trees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different trees that have basically the same things. You can smush those all into 1 or 2 trees. Really. Like, smush it all down and just have it being, you have velocity for all weapons, range for all weapons, cooldown for all weapons, and then on the sides you have the fun stuff, like you have jam chance over here, then you have spread over here, and they apply to different weapon systems. That would be much better, because if you just chose to increase your firepower, you could do it. And then, proportionally, I would lower the amount of points that you could take, so that, you know, instead of 91, make it 70 or something like that. So that if you go down the firepower and you take everything out of firepower, you shouldn't have enough points to take your defensive and your mobility. You'd have to choose basically, out of the 4, we have like firepower, defense, mobility, and information tech, like your infotech, your sensors and such, and your mech operations. You should just be able to take like 2 out of 4, that kind of thing. So if you want high firepower and high mobility, you have no armor bonuses and you have no heat efficiency bonuses, that kind of thing. I just find that there's too many nodes. You can just take too much stuff because of people are going to only go down one firepower tree, and then they're going to just take the very meta choices over here. Moving on. They changed how ECM worked in this new thing. So let me just pop onto an ECM mech real quick here. I'll just get onto my Arctic Cheetah and pop into here. Under sensors, we have ECM now only reduces it by 30%. So for easy math, the person at range, you can detect them at 1 kilometer. If they're under ECM with no bonuses, now it's 700 meters. However, you can go down the sensors route here, and you can get down to enhanced ECM on either side, and now you're back to your old minus 75%, which would make that detection range 250 meters. They've said that they're doing this because ECM is just too powerful. It's a 1-ton investment or a 1.5 ton investment, depending on which tech tree, and you just get this huge sensor boost. Like this huge boost in stealth and information warfare. And I can agree with that. I can understand why they did this change. However, a lot of people are going to look at this and be like, you're taking away this thing, which has been in the game for forever, unless I pay you an additional 1.3 million C-bills and almost 20,000 experience per ECM mech that I have. So every single ECM mech guaranteed is already down 13 points. Like, because there's no reason to take ECM if you're not taking these 13 points. It feels a little scummy, but I understand why they're doing it. ECM is too powerful. Even in my mind, it's too powerful. That 75% should be reduced. It should be down to like minus 50%. I could understand if it was like, say, minus 40% base, and then these two ones give it plus 10% to down minus 60% after it was fully quirked. So it would still be a benefit, but it wouldn't be that much of a change. But having this huge quantity of change in the ECM here, like in these skill trees, feels bad because the performance that you would expect just from purchasing that mech is not going to be there anymore. And again, this is going to be something that's going to hurt a new player who doesn't have these 1.3 million and specifically 20,000 experience in order to drop on a new ECM mech the moment they buy it. That is the reason why a lot of the ECM mechs are powerful, is that they have that stealth. So you buy a new Hellbringer, yeah, well, pretty much you're going to be within like 700 meters for the majority of the fighting, so your ECM's not going to do anything for you, and there's no point in running that ECM, or, you know, you'd have to farm up your Hellbringer in a weaker state than it used to in order to get it back to its former glory. It's painful, but I can understand what they're doing, but I would rather see just an overhaul of the ECM mechanics. Like, get rid of ECM down there and just overhaul it so it's not an overpowered weapon system or overpowered technology system in this game. Anyway, moving on from there. Let's see, what else we got here? Right, I want to talk about a couple specific things that I think is going to be bad for the game. Where is it? Defensive. Alright, we have these skeletal densities and armor hardening, and we're going to pop over here into a spreadsheet in a moment, but you can see that you can get 5 nodes of it. So there's 1 skeletal density 5 and armor hardening 5, the max ones down here. They change based on weight class, the amount of percentages. So lights will have 7% skeletal density, where mediums have 6%, heavies have 5%, and assaults have 4%. So it's going down. Okay, so that's just trying to make things a little bit more equal. That's great. However, because those percents are going against the mech's total health, then as a mech approaches the limit of their weight class and clicks over into the next one, their base durability is increasing linearly, but this percentage categories cause this sort of reversed sawtooth graph to appear. And I'll show you that here. I'm just going to Alt-Tab into the spreadsheet warrior. So current mech hit points are here, and this is just copied from another sheet. We can see the amount of total hit points that you get. These are the different nodes here. So we got armor hardening node. You can change this around from 1 to 5, and it changes the sheet below it. It changes all these numbers, but we're just going to assume you've taken the entire sheet. So you've gotten all 5 of both armor and skeletal density. These are the percentages that they have currently, just for each level. They're being times together and then applied against the base values to show how much of a bonus. This is what this is. How many more hit points are you getting when you take these nodes? And what you can see here is that as we go up, and then we click over, so say we go center torso armor. We start off at 20 tons and an additional 6 armor. Then we're going to get another 8 armor at 25, 10 at 30, 11 at 35, but then we drop down to 9.6. This is because we went into the medium category. We went from 5 to 4%, and that drop of a percentage is bigger than the increase in base health that you get from 35 to 40. So in total, we drop durability on the low end of a weight class. And you can see that just all the way down, where it goes up and then down, and then up and then down, and then up, sort of thing. You can see that total hit points here. And what I've done is I've taken those total hit points and I've put them into a graph right here. So you can see we're going to go up and then down very slightly into mediums, up, down into heavies, up, and then a big down into assault mechs here, and then up. Now what this is going to do is, if you're going to take these benefits, we're going to take these skeletal densities and armor hardenings, it's more effective on a high end of your weight class. So why take those? I mean, they're still beneficial. You still get more benefits than just not taking them, but they're more effective on higher ends of the weight classes. So your 55 tonners, your 75 tonners, your 100 tonners. It's going to promote people to play with those high end of your weight class mechs. And that's something we've tried to get around in the past. We want people to take those 60 tonners and those 80 tonners. You know, they're good mechs. They fit well into drop decks because you can get assault quality firepower out of an 80 tonner without having that extra 20, 15 tons in order to make it a 100 tonner. But what this is going to do is it's going to disproportionately increase health. And I really don't like having it as a percentage, but doing it weight classes. I feel like if it was a percentage of just the health, like all across the thing, if it's somehow linearly scaled based on tonnage, that would have been a much better system. You would have had a much more linear system where things got on average a certain percentage increase. I would have liked things to benefit durability more to the light side of things. I think lights need durability in this game to not be insta-cored, especially the really light ones. I know I hate, I say, and I'm very sort of, it's kind of a meme on my channel now, that I hate locusts. But I do see them as having problems in the current game. If you see, like if you run into a streak dog or something in a locust, you're just dead. And I'd like you to be able to have an increase in durability on those mechs. So yeah, it's just interesting to see that this percentage-based system with those armor and structure bonuses can lead to people wanting to run the top end of the weight class spectra. The next thing here is the ammo boost, and this is just kind of for information, maybe a little bit of a discussion thing. If we go to mech operations, and it's somewhere around here, here we go. We have the magazine capacity quirk, or the skill node. And what I've done is I've just basically translated those numbers into here. So we have the IS and the clan tech bases. We have the different weapons that they currently do have that this thing would benefit. Their current amount of shots that they get per ton. The bonus, the new total, and how much of an increase that is. So you can see that things range from 13.33% to 20%. And it's interesting that they range in that spectra. I would have, like, they average out around 15%. So why aren't things just 15%? You can give the AC2 like a few more points here. Like, what if we took this to 15? That would be 20, so 12. That's 16, 11. Oh, that's 14.67. That would be closer, maybe 11 or 12, would be closer to a round number. Maybe we do take it to 15, just give everything a 20% increase. Like, that's a round number we can get to. It's kind of just like an OCD thing, not really, like just really picky, but I just dislike having these numbers be different. Like, why couldn't they all just be 20%? It's just 20% increase. You know what I mean? Like, it gets a little bit difficult with the AC20 because if you go 1, it's 14. If you go 2, it's 28. So it's hard, but yeah, well. I also just wanted to show the different numbers for these so you can see how much of a boost it is. And I think actually this mech operations ammo boost is going to be an extremely valuable quirk for lighter ballistic mechs, such as like a blackjack 2, like a blackjack with AC2s. You can get an additional large quantity of firepower out of your AC2s because you have this ammo boost. So it's going to be good. I think that will actually be kind of fun for the game. But I think that's done with this thing here. Alright, I'm just going to wrap this up with a few ideas I have about just the skill tree in general. I've kind of said these in the previous videos as well, but I definitely don't like how these things are structured. I really don't like the idea that you can go and say, with all these lasers, I'm just going to click through and I'm going to get every single laser upgrade that you could possibly get. I don't think that we should be able to do that. It's just going to lead to power creep. What I think that this tree should look like is, back at the beginning, there should be like 2 or 3 choices that you can start off in. And you can only take one of them. That's the big thing. There should be exclusionary here. You should be able to pick A or B, not A and B. That's the big difference that I want to see. So you should have, and there should be logical differences between them. Like laser range and laser duration should be up against each other because they serve different purposes. Laser range is a person who wants to sit back and snipe. They don't care as much about the duration because they're out of the battle and they're in safety, so they can have a longer duration, but they want to sit back out of the fight. Okay, the person who wants lower duration doesn't really care much about the range because they want to get in close. They want to have that low duration so they don't have to peek as far. Like they're completely separate benefits that work on different playstyles. You combine this with everything, all these weapon trees going down to 1, make the first one, like the first choice, like heat efficiency or cooldown sort of thing. Then the second choice should be something that's unique to different things. It should be like UAC jam chance, laser duration, or like weapon spread. You know, the cool choices. And then you can choose one of the 3. Oh, so if I'm a brawler and I'm taking LBX and SERMs, I want the weapon spread. And then I take the heat efficiency at the top. Where if I'm a, you know, UAC DACA build, I don't need the heat efficiency at the top because it's pretty cool already, so I take the cooldown and I take the jam chance. That way you have unique choices and you can customize your mech, but you don't have just mass benefits for every single weapon that you're carrying. Alright, and what else is on my list here? Another idea would be having diminishing returns. So you can go down further into laser range, but you can see that all of these are plus 1.6%. We could have it so that the first one is 3%, the next one is 2%, the next one's 1%, 0.5, 0.2 sort of thing. So putting, like, if you want to get your maxed out of lasers or whatever it would be, you can have all your points be in there, but the more you put into it, the less you're going to get out of it. That would help people who wanted to have multiple different weapon systems but wanted a moderate boosts to them all, instead of a person who's going to invest everything into one and get the best boosts in just that. Also, it would help lower the difference between new players and old players, because a new player would have to invest less in order to get closer to the old player as fast as possible. They would only have to invest in maybe halfway through the system, and then they're basically on par except for some small, like a 10% difference. That would be really beneficial. But yeah, I think that's it for the balance concepts. Overall, I think this system will be bad for the game in terms of balance, and would be a serious form of power creep, both between the old system and the new system, and between new players and existing players. And that's it. Thanks for watching, and good hunting.